What's going on, friends and family? My name's Skylent. Whole channel's about playing with friends. That's what we're gonna do today. We're talking about the best hardcore co-op games to play with friends, at least for this spooky season. And I'm actually adding on the whole this particular season thing because in the future, dude, there's always going to be new games. Can't wait to do this list in maybe next season, next year. But also, just so happens every game on this list, maybe because I'm choosing hardcore co-op games, also happen to be a great fit for being like horror settings or spooky or just genuinely frightening and kind of a little bit dangerous. And I'm using the list as hardcore because these are co-op specific games, co-op focused games, versus just like the option or ability to play co-op. And then also games that really require cooperation and a need to socialize and be with your friends, or else you're gonna get slapped by a giant troll or some ghosts or something. You know, you're gonna get killed, you're gonna get got. So, hardcore co-op games, you wanna play with your friends, you wanna do the do, and you know, you probably wanna play with your bester friends, your good friends. Let's keep the hype alive. Here is my top 5. So starting out the list, I'm gonna slap down Left 4 Dead 2. I know Back 4 Blood is on the horizon, but I genuinely think Left 4 Dead 2 is still the game to champion and still the game to play. It's actually decently popular. It's still always in Steam's like top 20 most popular games, especially when it comes to the Halloween season, yeah. But Left 4 Dead 2, just like, I don't know, for like the past decade or something more, it's just been the game to play with your friends. Romp through it for the weekend or what have you, or just jump in every once in a while. It's a great game to, sure, play casually with your friends, and there was even a long time ago an esport scene, I guess, but Left 4 Dead 2 has really found its home as one of the more challenging, hardcore, and I think just like fun but still frightening kind of zombie games where the special infected, the hordes, the fanaticism, it's really kind of ridiculous. And of course you play on the hardest difficulties on some of the newer maps, especially. There's always new maps being added, modded in. There's mod support, it's great. But yeah, you just jump in with a friend or just a couple, and oh my god, Left 4 Dead 2 really comes to life, and I don't think there's too many other games that can really replicate just the ease of access of getting into and having a good hardcore co-op experience. I know it's weird saying ease of access and hardcore, but yeah, no, I think that needs to be mentioned. Okay, but if you do want to play a newer game because you've done Left 4 Dead 2, you obviously have Vermintide and Vermintide 2, and then there is the new Back 4 Blood, so those games do exist. And if you guys have any others that you want to mention in this slot, sure, go ahead, but Left 4 Dead 2 is still tremendously popular, so even if you don't have a friend, you can still actually have a great time jumping in and playing cooperatively with other players, and that's something that needed to be mentioned as well. I think it's a little old, but it's still gold. Obviously, there's a bunch of other clone games that you're quite aware of as well. You know, people are going to let me know in the comments below, but this one, always, you know, sometimes even old games or new games, if you've never played it before, please check it out if you haven't, and it always goes on sale. It's like $1, dude, and just get Left 4 Dead 2. It's always, it's going to be the fall Steam sale. Just buy it. Just get it. Number 4, I have Hunt Showdown, and this is a list specifically on co-op specific games, though this is sort of a twist on the formula. So the game is 2 players that is sort of a survival situation. You jump down into, and yes, it is a battle royale, but please let me explain. 2 players work together in order to survive, because if your character dies, if you don't escape this royale, then that's it. You know, you have to actually make a new character, it's got a whole new name, and you have to level up again. So survival situation, it's pretty freaking serious, and the sound, the atmosphere, the gore, the grotesqueness of it all, it's very, oh man, it is dark. It is a horror game for sure, but Hunt Showdown absolutely is a cooperative game. And if the monsters that you're fighting wasn't enough to kind of make it exist as a co-op game, I have to say that even though it is a PvP game, it is 2v2 versus 2v2 versus 2v2 versus 2. It's like lots of different teams of 2 players are working together, and effectively it creates this environment of basically vibing like a co-op game. And oftentimes you really won't encounter too many players. You might encounter 1 team or 2 teams, possibly through a match, but for the most part you are fighting a PvE game. But this is a player versus environment or monster versus player game. So you are hunting monsters at the same time as other players hunting monsters, and obviously your paths can cross, probably will cross, and depending on how you play, it can vibe a little bit differently. But because of that special sort of atmosphere where I wouldn't put the games like I guess Ark on this list or Rust or something like that, I'm not going to put a whole lot of other games that have like a PvEVP vibe or experience in this list, because this is the one that more than any has that hardcore cooperative feeling and vibe where you can play with one other friend and just jam to it all night and have an amazing time, and it will feel very PvE. I know it's not technically, but it does. You know, very similarly to how I actually put on my last co-op list, you know, Dead by Daylight, which is 4 players versus 1 other player. technically, it's a co-op game. It's just cooperative against another player. So in sort of the same vein, that's how this game exists. Completely underrated, the most underrated battle royale, even though it's so critically acclaimed. Definitely something that I'm so glad to see actually becoming more and more popular. So let's keep the hype going, especially this spooky season. But the reason why I really want you guys to play it is because you actually have to listen to the audio cues. You're actually gonna have to talk to your teammate like, oh man, I heard something over in this direction, or you guys are gonna have to use each other's earballs in order to triangulate where sound is coming from or where enemies are going to be and spotted. And there's also sort of a riddle or a puzzle and almost like a poker-esque element to it, which is the battle royale element that comes into play, that you have to actually put your brains together to really cooperate, not just to take down these incredibly grotesque and very gruesome, like they're very challenging monsters. They will kill you, dogs will kill you, these bosses will kill you if you don't work together, but also, you know, sometimes maybe somebody needs to be a lookout, maybe somebody needs to be the point and the spearhead into the operation. There's a lot of cooperation that goes with this that you have to play for yourself to really know and realize, because of the nuances of the graphics and of the amazing, oh my god, immeasurable, like nuanced sound system that they got going on. It's so cool. Please check it out. Halfway on the list, basically being ranked by popularity, by the way, on Steam, is 7 Days to Die, which I gotta say, I think that this is probably the most magical co-op experience I've ever had, where I went into this game thinking this is gonna be trash, it's gonna be copy-paste, it's basically like Minecrafty, DayZ-ish, you know, zombie survival. I've played Unturned, I've done this before, and it does look very janky, and it is kind of a little janky, but like, trust me, friends and family, 7 Days to Die, I went from totally zero expectations to holy fudge, this game is amazing. It's a handcrafted map with handcrafted experiences that still have a good bit of organicness to it, where zombies can randomly pop out of closets. There's like sort of like trap fall, like floors that you can fall through into like pits of giant, you know, dogs and blobbing zombies, and I don't know, man, it's really crazy. Also, the crafting system is really ingenious. But basically, this is an incredibly awesome co-op experience because of the handcraftedness of the world, where you actually have to look around and, you know, have people kind of be like spotters and really pay attention to the resources being gathered, and then also because of the crafting system, where picking up books and things like that allow you to specialize into different things. So maybe somebody's going to be the hunter or the point guard going into buildings, mostly focusing on you know, melee weapons or something like that. Another person might be the engineer, one person might be the medic, and you can play totally just co-op. It is kind of, I guess you could play solo too. A lot of these games you can play solo, but really 7 Days to Die completely comes to life, I think, with 2, 3 players, and of course 4, but really just co-op is so freaking tremendously fun. But it is hardcore. You're gonna die a lot, and you're gonna be challenged often, and again, the handcraftedness of the map and the experience is what really drives you trying to really play and really game the game, and really split up the roles and the survival responsibilities, really giving you that hardcore cooperation feeling, which honestly I didn't get in a lot of other survival games. Sure, in other games, you know, somebody might go out and get food, somebody might go punch trees, I guess, but in the end, there is a homogeny to how people play the game and how they can play, and overall playing solo isn't that different from playing co-op, but in 7 Days to Die, it absolutely matters, and it absolutely makes a lot of sense. Now, I think this game would do better if it was a little less janky, and if it ran better on servers. It doesn't. It's really meant to be played as a more small party co-op game. Keep that in mind, but this spooky season, oh my god, the best zombie survival game that's co-op, you have to play 7 Days to Die. Number 2, I'm gonna slap down Phasmaphobia. Now, I know the list says hardcore, but actually Phasmaphobia, does have a difficulty curve, and it is gonna slap you. You are gonna die. It is scary, but at the same time, it's kind of fun when you suck. It's fun just learning the mechanics, and I would even debatably say once you puzzle and riddle out the game, it kind of loses its magic, and you have to wait for the next update. But actually, just playing this game, even if you just run through, even if you only play it one single time, you will get a fight or flight, you will get a fear that you haven't had since you were a kid watching your first, you know, ghost movies, you know, Paranormal Activity or something like that. For me, it was monster movies, you know, like The Thing. And even though I'm not afraid of ghosts, ghost movies do absolutely fucking nothing for me. Actually, Phasmaphobia instills love in my heart as somebody who loves bestiaries. I love monsters, and this game makes ghosts monsters. They makes them real, it's scientific, and the whole point of the game is that you are not just hunting the monster, like you're not doing a hunting of a monster or a ghost, you are investigating a ghost. Your goal is to figure out what type of ghost it is before it gets you got, before you get deaded. So you gotta figure out what ghost it is by using all these different tools, which you can't just carry all the tools yourself. You have to use your teammates, you have to use the walkie-talkie, which the the ghost can, by the way, hear you when you're trying to talk to your teammates and stuff, and then when they die, they can't use the walkie-talkie, you're like, Snake, where'd you go, Snake? And then, oh my god, it's crazy. So you can run out the house, you're scared, you just leave them behind, you fail, whatever. Phasmaphobia is just like, it could be a quick game, you could just play once, you could play it a bunch, you could play it all night. You do gain money to get different investigation equipment to run into, the harder difficulty stuff, and it is a really fun game that I think has a fun difficulty spike that hits you right in the heart and just drives it in, but that's the point. As a horror game, you're supposed to die, you're supposed to get scared, you're supposed to learn from your experiences, and then slowly kind of understand, I think, overall the mythology of some of these ghosts, the pop culture sort of bestiary, Wikipedia knowledge of ghosts. And I think it's just fun. It's just a fun romp through it. Yes, it's horrifying. Yes, you will get scared. I did too, even though ghosts do nothing for me. It's just the nature of the first person and immersion of this game. So Phasmaphobia is 100% a buy, even if it looks janky and corny and you think ghosts don't do anything. Just do it, play with a friend, and try not to get dead. You're gonna have a great time. And number 1, the most popular hardcore cooperative focused game to play with friends, especially this spooky season, is going to be Valheim. Valheim just actually had a spike in popularity because of a new update where they updated the housing and everything, but yeah, let me just start with that. Valheim, for a spooky game is actually really cozy, and I think it's actually the spookiest and sometimes scariest survival games that make me feel the most at ease sometimes. And I think zombie movies do that too. That's actually part of the storytelling of zombie movies, where you find shelter, you overcome adversity, and then you have to go find new shelter, and you rinse and repeat, and that's just the whole state of survival games, but especially zombie games and stuff like that. Valheim, not exactly a zombie game, though effectively it is. You do have waves of monsters that occasionally come, you do have monsters that spawn around you, and you do need to make shelter in order to survive. You do need to survive the elements, and you need to try to thrive, or else you will die. That's how survival games work anyways. Valheim, Viking survival game, that's pretty much it. You jump into the game, you hit trees, and then you start, you slap down some monsters. Some of them are big, trolls are big and scary, but that's what I want to say is this game has this dark, brooding, mysterious atmosphere that is really freaking spooky, but because it's so spooky out in the dark forests and then the winter biomes and the plains and stuff like that with mosquitoes that'll one-shot you, it's really cozy when you actually finally have your hearth, when you build up your huts and you have your friends and you're all cozy in bed together. This is a game that, I don't know, it's got this really mixed, interesting vibe where it's not just all super hardcore and blood and guts and rusted metal, which you actually might see in 7 Days to Die or something like that. It's not all doom and gloom like Hunt Showdown. It's not all in your face like Left 4 Dead 2. There is a mix of ways of play to Valheim that I really appreciate, that takes stuff from Ark Survival Evolved, that takes stuff maybe from, other titles too as well, like Sea of Thieves, why not? And it just kind of throws it together. It is a little awkward. Sure, it's not great for big servers, but co-op, 2 players, 3 players, and I think 4 players, it is an absolute fantastic experience. Now, there is a little bit of homogeny with the way people play, but in the end, you all work together, you all go on this adventure together, where you're going to be killing dragons, wolves in the ice biome, and the weather effects will really kill you. Diving into caves without a torch will definitely kill you. A lot in this game will kill you. Chopping trees will fucking kill you, but it is a great game that has really fun little nuanced interactions that I know at first glance it looks like another survival game, but the little tiny details make it comforting and make it crazy. So definitely give this one a shot. There's a reason why it's so freaking viral. Absolutely. I will just say that personally, I am running through it solo, just as a chill and relaxed kind of game. I did play it co-op, and most people do play it cooperatively, but the building aspect, the cooperative building aspect to it, which you're going to be constantly building multiple bases all throughout the world. You're going to be needing to build probably multiple actual boats and things like that, and really working together around the world, not always right next to each other. That is a unique experience that sometimes you don't get. Maybe you get that vibe in games like Fallout 76-ish sometimes, MMO-like games, maybe some MMOs, but for the most part, co-op games are either you're right next to each other or you're not playing at all, and in Valheim, there is a bit more of a wider breadth of gameplay where you guys can actually work together. Not exactly like not exactly like guild politics like EVE Online or something like that, or maybe what we'll see with New World and Albion, but you do have that cooperative, okay, you're gonna go to this biome, get that, I'm gonna go to this biome, get that, we're gonna meet back at nighttime, kind of like Don't Starve, actually, so I really appreciate that game for this. Now that's the end of my list, but I am going to end on an honorable mention, which I actually just said was Don't Starve. The reason Don't Starve isn't technically on the list is because it's not technically as popular. It just missed the list at like number 6 or 7 in popularity of being a co-op game, but it is very popular. It used to be viral. A lot of people know about this game. It's basically hardcore survival, not really a crafting game, not really a city building game at all. It's just running and gathering. But because of that, also it's hard to put it in this list because even though it's totally spooky, it's totally hardcore, it's totally co-op, and like my favorite ever. I love it so much. Oh my god. The thing is that you're doing a lot of stuff away from your friends, like too much so. Like something that I think is cool sometimes, like in Valheim, sometimes you just like are constantly almost never together except to do raid bosses. And at that point, it's better to play on a server anyways. So to play with your friends exactly just misses the list. But if you played these other games and if you want a truly hardcore experience, then Don't Starve Together is one to play. It's gonna take a whole weekend to really play through it. Then that's the one that you want to check out. But that's all I got to say. If there's any that maybe you want to mention and shout out in the comments below, this is the Friends and Family Show. So come on, friends and family, help us all out. Let's go play some games together. And if you want to play with me, Discord's link is down somewhere. You'll find it. And like and subscribe to know whenever I go live. But much love, friends and family. Keep that hype alive, and I will see you again next time.